Hey, good morning, everybody. Thanks so much for spending some time with me. Sorry, as we gather together and engage in community together. Um, yeah, it's been a little bit. It's hard to believe. We're back here gathered together again. Um, sorry, I'm still struggling through my stuffiness from last week, and the joy that comes with this season of new life and of spring. Um, but it reminds me that even in those moments of joy, even in those moments of new life, sometimes um, not everybody gets the joy that we do. Not everybody is able to fully embrace it because of what is going on in their lives. And for me, it's a reminder and a challenge to recognize that we are all in different areas of our understanding of our faith. And what does that mean? What does that look like? How does that impact um, how I interact with someone? And also how I respond when someone interacts with me. Um, if someone's being a real jerk, do I give it right back to them? Or do I try to offer grace? Because they may have something going on. Excuse me. And I may have just caught them at a bad time in their day. And it was the one final thing that, they didn't need at that point. And so I get whatever they need to let go of. And when we start to do that, when we start to reconsider how someone is responding to us, it gives us an opportunity to see the world a little bit differently, to see it with a little bit more grace, to engage the world in new and faith-filled ways. So often, I think we miss that. Jesus invites us to walk, excuse me, to walk with people, to engage with them, and we can't do that from far off. Always, we need to do it by building relationships, by connecting, and that means by being honest. A couple weeks ago, we at church had a discussion about, we as the church need to be a place where people can come and have differing opinions. And in fact, that's not been the case. And it's starting to get harder that, churches are a place where everyone has to agree. And that's not what our faith, our theology calls us to. This is not uniformity. It is unity. And there's a difference in that, because in unity, we can see the world differently. We can experience things differently, and we can engage faithfully in conversations, trusting and respecting one another as we go through that. And that isn't easy, because we see it day in and day out. We see this acceptance of this ability to berate someone, to not pay attention, to ignore what they are saying or where they're coming from, because what we have to say is more important, or what we have to say is right and they are wrong, and that's it. Jesus often, over and over again, listens to people. He doesn't interrupt. He doesn't ignore, but he does challenge. But he challenges them in love. He challenges them to understand things in a broader scope. The joy of the parable of the Good Samaritan is Jesus doesn't just tell that parable because he tells that parable to broaden the scope of the person who is the legalist, the one who comes to Jesus, who says, "What must I do to inherit eternal life?" Jesus asks him what the law says. He answers correctly. He gives the perfect, memorized answer. And then he wants to justify himself, going, "Who is my neighbor?" That is what leads to the parable of the Good Samaritan. It is Jesus going, you need to broaden your scope. You need to pay attention. You need to see that love is not a noun, it's a verb. Spoiler alert for Sunday. So it is a reminder for us as people of faith, as people of the Lutheran faith that profess this, that we are called to examine ourselves and to engage others faithfully and lovingly through engaging ourselves. We get to invite other people into relationship, into conversation, because we don't have all the answers. And that for me is joy-filled, because we are all continually learning. If I wasn't continually learning, I wouldn't have books on my shelves, books on my phone, podcasts that I listen to. I would think I know perfectly enough that everything I have is absolutely 100% right. But I am continuing to learn and to grow in my faith. And there are some things that I knew or thought I knew 5 years ago or 10 years ago or 30 years ago that I'm going, not sure if I agree with myself anymore back then. So what does it mean for you today to live faithfully, to engage someone differently, to see maybe they're just having a rough day and not just a jerk? But what does it mean for me to not be a jerk today? What does it mean for me to faithfully serve someone else, to broaden my scope, even if it's just by a little bit, and to put that love that Jesus offers, that service that Jesus calls us to, that invitation that Jesus has, not just for those that get it all right, but those especially that don't. What does it mean today for you to be part of that, to be engaged in it, to be the recipient of it, but also to be the one that can offer it? Hopefully, that will give you some things to think about, to talk about, to engage in, to uplift in, to be challenged by, and to live more deeply into your faith today and through this week. I invite you to join with us online or on site as we worship together this Sunday at 8:30 and 10:30 with faith formation at all ages, starting at 9 and 9:30 for adults, and continue this conversation. I thank you all so much for spending some time with me today, and I hope you have a great week. Enjoy. God bless. We'll see you soon.